All right, so this is Recreation and Sport Management 308, and we were talking about personnel in our first video of personnel, and we were talking in specifics about person tasks fit and the person organization fit, and kind of looking at the two differences between them. And person task focuses on the job and how well the person has the skills characteristics required for the job. Person organization is how well does the person fit within the organization's values, goals, objectives, mission, vision. Do they buy into that? Do they buy into the norms within that organization? Okay. So now as we move forward, one of the things that we'll oftentimes have to do is we looked at those two job descriptions. We're going to have to hire people to fill those needs that we have within the organization to help us run our events, tournaments, leagues that we have. And so one of the starting points we have to look at is what types of employees do we want? And it's broken down. Do we want full-time versus part-time? Do we want student workers? Do we want rely on interns? Can we rely on volunteers to help us run our programming? And then also contracted services. So we'll take a look at each one of these as we move forward as far as potential for using these employees, these types of employees, to help us run our events and leagues. All right, so let's hopefully move forward here. Helps if I put it into this mode. There we go. All right, so full-time generally 40 hours per week. Could be a little less, could be a little more. Depends upon what your organization will allow. Usually with full-time employees, they're associated with benefits package. They have health insurance, paid vacation, sick leave, and retirement savings. So they have those benefits that go along with not just the salary. Okay, so and those are usually more the important positions that you have, and you want to have good people, and you want to have that stability in those positions. Now, part-time is oftentimes we rely heavily in Parks and Recreation and sport management rely heavily on part-time employees. And part-time employees, their positions, while important, aren't quite as necessary as what the full-time are, and what South Carolina describes or defines as 29 hours or less per week is a part-time position. Okay. Usually, a part-time person is not offered benefit package. Again, that if they don't have to, if the organization doesn't pay a benefit package, it's cheaper for the organization to have. So that's why a lot of times you'll see more part-time employees, because they don't want to pay the benefits that go along with it. They'll pay the salaries, or they'll pay the hourly wages, but they don't want to pay the benefit packages that go along with it. The pros, for part-time, it allows for a greater workforce. And you can control when they work a lot easier. So when at those peak times, when you have events, you can hire them on to run those weekend events, or be there during the weekends to help you run those events. And you don't have to worry about paying overtime, or I guess that's not the right way to say it. You can put them into those positions and pay them in those times that you have the most need. Okay. There's no compensation package, so that's cheaper for you as an employer. And the good thing for the part-timers is it provides work experience that can help them get into their career that they want. A lot of you have probably relied on part-time employment in recreation and sport management to help you get the foot in the door within an agency. I know Myrtle Beach, it's really hard to go straight from college into a full-time position. A lot of the students, my former students that work at Myrtle Beach and have full-time jobs, it took a while, and they had to take part-time jobs within the system before they got full-time position, and that's not uncommon. So just be prepared for that. On the downside the part-time, the administrative paperwork that goes along with it. Part-timers don't have the necessary, or neither the experience nor the same security of full-time positions, so they don't have the same job security there, or they're, and with that means they can leave a lot easier, which again, you'll see a lot of turnover in part-time position. Consistency of performance. Sometimes part-timers don't have that same focus or drive within the organization, so their consistency of performance might not always be there, and they are more inclined to leave. And a lot of times, one of the things you have to be aware of is part-timers are oftentimes working multiple jobs to help pay their bills, and so with that, it becomes scheduling issues and also just sheer exhaustion from the employees, which can come back to consistency of performance and so forth, and leaving because they're just so drained from trying to juggle so many things. So part-time versus full-time, good options there, and we rely heavily on both. Another area that we rely heavily upon in this field are students and student employees, particularly when you're working on campus recreation or university recreation. You're going to have a lot of times student employees help run the different sports and events that go on within there. But it gives you added staff. You get a lot more personnel, and they don't cost as much. And a lot of times the costs are subsidized by federal funding as well. It's oftentimes mutually beneficial. You're getting personnel, they're getting skills and learning skills to work in the field, and getting experience, something they can put on the resume. They learn about career opportunities and get experience, like we said. They make money while learning. This is a nice thing. It's always nice to be able to get paid to learn a skill and improve your skills, and make yourself more marketable while you're also making money doing it. And they can usually work anywhere between 1 to 20 hours per week. 20 hours is the max for student employees, or student workers. So that'll be kind of where the most experience or most hours that you can get. But again, as an employer, you can count on those for 20 hours per week. That helps to buffer your personnel needs. The downside with students, there is a high turnover rate. Sometimes they're not quite as committed. There's sometimes a lot of other variables that are taking away their motivation, a lot of other maybe conflicting motivators there. And so there is a high turnover rate that happens with students. And with that turnover, you have to have that training orientation. It has to occur on a frequent basis, because you're getting whole new groups coming in and a large number of new employees. So you have to go through the training and orientation to help them understand their role and help them be successful in the positions that you put them into too. You don't just want to throw them out there. You want to give them some training and orientation and understand their responsibilities within the organization. Interns. So a lot of you, unfortunately, are or fortunately, whenever you want to look at it, taking this class in lieu of your internship. And a lot of times recreational sport agencies rely on interns to help support their staff and use this as another personnel outlet to cover their needs. So the nice thing about interns are they have a high interest within that career. They want to get that training. They want to get pad that resume so that they can go out and get employment in the field. And so there's a high level of interest, and this is a great opportunity for career training. And you don't have all the skills yet, and you don't have the skills perfected. So there is that need for training that goes on here. There's also an opportunity for education. You need to gain experience in assigned tasks to help them reach goals. So sometimes your job in this is to educate them, to provide as a mentor for those interns, because they're trying to gain experience. So I know you're right. Most of you are in this situation right now, or are going to be in this situation. As a site supervisor, your job, you're an extension of the classroom and the faculty. So you're trying to help them gain more experience, help them learn about the job, help them gain skills based upon the task that you give them. And then you also have to make sure that you really sit down and understand what their goals are and what they're trying to accomplish, so that you can try to help them, or be upfront with them and tell them, hey, look, I can't help you get to that point. So you have that opportunity to educate those interns, and interns are a good source of that. Again, interns are going to take more work, though, because you have to supervise them. You have to keep an eye on them. So you need that a lot more supervision as you're working with interns. Okay. And again, when you go out and if you're going to do an internship, you should have somebody supervising you to make sure that you're doing things the correct way, doing things the organizational way, to give you that training, to help oversee you. Remember that when you go out there and start getting interns, interns are work. It's not just, all right, I got somebody that can do all my work for me. It's going to take a lot of work and supervision to make sure that they're successful. If you've ever monitored volunteers are a lot like interns. They can be very helpful. They help cover some tasks that you couldn't cover with your paid staff. But they also take a lot of work. They take a lot of planning for. One of the key elements to understand why people are volunteering, what's their interest, and making sure you're helping meet their needs as well. Because sometimes volunteering is a recreational experience for individuals. They like that ability to give back. They have an interest in helping young people. You look at your volunteer coaches. We rely very heavily on volunteers to help cover our coaching needs. We rely on volunteers. This is an example of a race. And what do we have? Volunteers working the water stations and handing out water. Why do they do it? Because they want to be a part of that bigger event, or they believe in the cause that event's supporting. They want to learn more sometimes, and so they'll come out and volunteering. But they do require training. They do require background checks. They do require certifications in some cases to help give you really good volunteers. So volunteers aren't free. They do take a lot of effort. They take a lot of work. They're going to require background checks, screenings, to make sure that you get good ones that you don't have to worry about as much. Okay. And one of the things volunteers give you is skill sets that your organization may not have, and so these volunteers can help in areas that they have skills that your group doesn't. Okay. Contracted services basically mean, do we need to hire outside agencies to come in and help us with our event, and we're going to pay them a contract fee basically to come in and do so. And so it might be, a lot of times you'll see it, concessions. We pay an outside concessionaire to come in and do it. Aramark is a very famous one that does it. You know it from campus here. Security. There's a lot of security agencies out there that help with security and help maintain that. Maintenance, maybe technology, and support the technological needs that go on within the organization. Officials. We have to work with officials, referees, umpires, judges, and so we have to sometimes contract out with outside agencies to hire those individuals. Also, medical personnel, also a heavy need when we talk about sport and the risk of injury there. So we have to keep those in mind as well. So these, again, we pay for them, they come in and work for us and help provide us a service. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop.